Hey everyone, so in today's video we're going to learn how to make this cute princess castle cake. So I've started off with a 6-inch cake that I have ganached, and I've just coloured some white fondant, just really pale, and this is going to cover the entire cake. Now I've sped this up quite a bit because I've got tutorials on how to ganache and also how to cover a cake as well. But you really want to sort of work your way around the cake, smoothing and pulling out the kind of pleats that form in the cake. I've wet the ganache underneath, and then once you've worked your way around, we're going to smooth the edges. Now the edges are covered in this cake, so it doesn't need to be too neat, but obviously I like to have sharp edges on the cakes. So when it gets to that bit at the back, you just want to pull ever so gently, just to try and get those pleats out of the bottom. And then we're going to trim off the excess and place that fondant to one side because we're going to use that a little bit later on. And then we're going to cover our board. Now you can cover your board before if you wanted to. You can cover it and then bake it in the oven. I just prefer to cover it afterwards. So you're just going to smooth over the fondant, trying to get out any air bubbles and lumps and bumps. And then with the flexi smoothers, we're going to work our way around the cake, pinching together just to create those edges nice and sharp. I've coloured some fondant in some really pale green just to go with the colour scheme that I've got going on. And we're just going to cover the board, blend in that join at the back and trim off the excess. Now don't worry too much about the little gap at the back there because we're going to cover that with some additional fondant a bit later on. So pop that to one side as well because we'll be using that later on as well. Now I will try to put in the description box the links to everything that I have used. This is something that I've had for quite a while, so I will try to find it. And we're just going to put that around the top of the cake. Now this is a stamp, it's kind of like got little flower holes in. There are different ones that you can buy. This one I just thought would look quite pretty with the cake. It is a bit of a nightmare to use and you will have to kind of just draw around the shape just so that you can get a nice clean cut. And we're going to do this around the top of the cake, so just sticking on with a little bit of water. I think it took me 2.5 strips to cover the top of the 6-inch cake. So just bear in mind that if you do a larger cake you would have to use more. I've got a little bit of water on my brush and I'm just going over the edges, just taking away any rough bits of fondant that I've missed. Now this is just the same Renshaw's extra that I'm using for to cover the cake. Because it's just a small amount, it will stand up on its own. It wouldn't need any sort of Tyler with it. I've got a wood effect mat and I'm just going to roll that over some white fondant and this is going to create the door. So you're just going to peel that off and then we're just going to cut the doorway out. So just cut a rough shape first and just check it for size against the cake. Now I cut mine a little bit too tall and so I just took off an extra bit at the bottom, mark down the middle and that's going to give the illusion that the doors are going to open. Find the front of your cake and just put a little bit of water on and then just stick that in place. Try not to press on it too hard because you'll take away the wood grain that we've just put on. So now with the same pink we're going to roll a long strip of fondant and this is going to go around the bottom of the cake. Now this cake cutting board that I've got, I've done it the width of one large big square or 2 small squares. You're just going to try and cut it the same length all the way down and then we're just going to mark a line through the middle. Again, sticking this on with a bit of water and I think I used 2 of these strips to just join on at the back. We're going to put some indentations around this strip just to make it look like some brickwork. So just pushing it on, try not to push too hard because you don't want to take out the line that we've just put on. And then I've just got a scriber tool and I'm just going to put in lines randomly throughout just to make it look like bricks. You're going to do this all the way around the cake. So next we've just got to roll some white fondant, quite long and thin, and this is going to create the trim for the door. You're also going to use this for the trim around the windows as well. So just chopping off the excess from the bottom. And then with the same fondant, we're just going to create some really small door handles. So you're just going to roll some small circles and just stick them on with a little bit of water. Now I've used a few different colours to make the golds that I'm using today. I've used fake Carhill's gold and Renshaw's rainbow dust gold. So I'll put links to those again in the description box below. And you're just going to paint around the door and the door handles too. Just mixed it with a little bit of dipping solution, so it shouldn't take long to dry. And if it gets too thick and it's starting to become quite pasty and grainy, just add a little bit more dipping solution. So now with the white, we're going to create some more windows. So I've just cut a very rough shape, and then I'm just going to recreate that shape. So just trace it over, just so that they are both the same size. Ideally, you want them to be roughly the same size. And then we're just going to again stick these on with a little bit of water. We're going to create the trim for these windows exactly the same as we did the door, and just sticking that on with some water. I've taken some of the pink fondant that I had and I've just added a bit of extra pink in there, and I've just got like a flower cutter, and I'm just going to create some flowers for that. So I've got two different sizes. I think they're a pack of 4, and I've taken the 2 smallest ones. So just a strip of pink underneath the window. I'm going to create just a little bit of brickwork. You won't be able to see too much of this. It'll just be underneath the flowers. So just sticking them on with a little bit of water. Start in the middle first and work your way out. Tuck in each flower underneath the last one. And then I've just got some sprinkles, some really tiny sprinkles and a little bit of water. And I'm just pushing these in to create the centre of the flower. You can't really see it here because I went for sort of like a dark pink, so it blended in quite well. So next we're going to create some kind of like ivy or twine that goes up the castle. So just a thin piece of green fondant, and you're just going to pop it in any place that you want really, trying just to create a little bit of movement. And then we're going to create some flowers to decorate this. So I've taken the larger of the 2 and done that in dark pink, and then the lighter, the smaller of the 2, I've done in the lighter pink. And you're going to put those together, and it's just going to create a pretty looking flower. And again, you're going to use the sprinkles just to pop in the middle. So you can see there I've used the dark pink again. So we're going to create a teardrop, and you're going to flatten that with the scriber tool, and that's going to create the leaves. And we're just going to pop that on the bottom. You could do these up the stem if you wanted. I just thought it looked better at the bottom. And then you're going to create one for the other side. Now you could work your way around the castle with these if you wanted to. I just left the main decoration for the front of the cake. Again, going around with some gold around the trim of the windows. If you do go over the border, you can just clean your brush and just with a little bit of water just go over the mistake that you've made, and it will take the the gold away. Next, I've got some of the same pink that I covered the cake with, and we're just going to create some random bricks that we're going to stick around the cake, just using a little bit of water. You can use edible glue for this, it's just I prefer to use water so that I don't ruin the brushes. And just popping them randomly throughout the cake. So once you've finished, you should have something that looks like this. Here is the cake that I put together. I have got a tutorial for Aurora and I will pop it on the screen now. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please leave a comment down below and don't forget to give a thumbs up. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so that you get notified of all my future tutorials. Thanks for watching.